We're tired of all the wooing. How was your? Did you guys go see Jason Mans play music last night? Anybody go see? I didn't know what was going on with Rob.
I was putting my glasses
I watched
down.
Jason Mans play music last night in that screen right there.
Oh.
Yeah.
How was it?
Very off-putting.
That's weird to just stare at yourself the entire time.
Yeah, because I make bad faces when I sing.
Like?
I don't know, I can't even do it.
But how can you see because if you're squinting, if you're singing with passion, you're squinting. Yeah, Robbie, that's the face of truth. That's the face of truth, everybody. Or the mouth of truth.
Which one is it?
I don't know. Robbie, go put your hand in it and we'll get the truth out of it.
Oh, that's what it is.
Yeah.
Don't do it.
You're supposed to put your hand in there.
Don't do it.
Don't do it, Robbie. Robbie. Don't do it. Your lies will have you killed. I'm not gonna do it. Oh, not the music.
What am I supposed to say? Something or do something?
I think Rich asks you a question.
Oh, Robbie. Ask it a question, Rob.
Wait, I'm supposed to ask it a question?
Ask it a question, Rob.
I don't think that's how it works.
Yeah, exactly.
You do whatever you're supposed to do with it.
Okay, are we gonna have a great weekend at Jib? What the hell?
Did he lick you?
That hit you?
Yeah, you got me on the hand.
I think you hit him and some nice neighbors in the front row.
Yeah.
Damn it.
Hey, stop!
Oh, Rob. I don't know, there's a water gun sitting there. Seems appropriate. There's other stuff sitting here, too.
I think you got it all wrong, Rich. Oh, great.
I think those are supposed to be surprises.
Oh, no. Oh, and then we got the wheel.
Oh, the wheel.
It's the wheel of truth. Oh, no. Drink. Hands. Drink.
I'm rolling.
Hands. Sing.
Ba-la-ba, ba-la-ba-ba, ba-la-da.
Da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. But a lot of people don't know there are actually lyrics to that part of the song. How does that go?
Okay, there they go. Ba-la-ba, ba-la-ba-ba, ba-la-ba, ba-la-ba-ba-ba, ba-la-da-da-da-da. See? You're welcome. Thank you. That was not... That was not a significant round of applause. It wasn't a significant
It didn't
act of
deserve it.
greatness. No, I think it was an appropriate smattering is what I think it was. No, but seriously.
Yeah. You got the hand of truth thing wrong, I think. I don't think you ask it a question.
Oh,
If
what
you've
do you
been
do?
truthful,
I think someone asks you a question.
and I answer it, and then I hold it in to see if I told a lie or not?
Yeah, then I shoot you.
Or is it
with
just
the
like,
one.
are you a good person? Is that...
Lies!
How does it work?
Rob lies!
Hold on.
You are accused of being a thief. You have to put your hand in. And then...
If you're a thief,
Someone squirt you with a water gun.
No, chop your hand off. Yes.
Why would they do that? Why would you put your hand in it?
Yeah.
I feel like you go,
Don't think about it.
you need to put your hand in and we cut it off. I pass. I have a thing. I really want to, but you know.
I love that your interpretation is like a magic 8-ball. Like, am I gonna be rich? Like, what was the...
So,
Rob?
Jason.
Yeah, Jason, do you have a question?
I did have a question. My question was...
A liar.
No, my question was, should I go make one of these people ask a question? Because that's one of my favorite things to do. Because it makes them uncomfortable.
Yeah. This this is, I mean, I'm going off script here because we've written this airtight bit, and I want to
No
be
doubt.
sure that, so I don't want to veer off that. But like, it does say sing, and there is a guitar,
Yeah.
and we do know Wagon Wheel. I'm just saying, if we wanted to like just kill 5 minutes with a musical ensemble, I don't know if we'd remember the lyrics, but we can wing it. You know, can we wing that? Is that something we can do? Can we try? What are you doing? Oh, it actually is. Oh, we're kind of ready for this. Well, that's accidental. Oops.
Crazy random happens.
Oops, we're ready. You guys remember the words?
Well, Jason sang it last night, so I hope so.
That's the wrong thing.
All right, so Rob Benedict on that. That went great. Rob Benedict on
You gonna
guitar.
help me with the third verse?
Sure.
Oh, this will be funny.
If you know, sing along because you probably know the words better than we do. Headed down south to the land of pine, thumbing my way in North Carolina. Stand up the road, big eyed, I see headlight. Well, I made it down the coast in 17 hours, picking me a bouquet of dogwood flowers, hoping for Raleigh I can see my baby tonight.
Rock me, mama, like a wagon wheel. Rock me, mama, any way you feel. Hey, mama, rock me. Rock me, mama, like the wind and the rain. Rock me, mama, like a southbound train. Hey, mama, rock me.
Up the coast from a New England, I was born to be a fiddler in an old-time string band. My baby plays the guitar, I pick a banjo now. Oh, the North County winds keep forgetting me now. Lost my money playing poker, but I had to leave. But I ain't turning back to living that old life no more.
Rock me, mama, like a wagon wheel. Rock me, mama, any way you feel. Hey, mama, rock me. Rock me, mama, like the wind and the rain. Rock me, mama, like a southbound train. Hey, mama, rock me.
Billy Brand. It's their solo guy. God damn it.
You should hand him the lyrics.
Oh, I never quite got them, which is why I started my verse with "I'll be Sir Carlos, I'm in New England." Crap, I should learn this really. Do you know him? Here's the
You
chorus.
sang it last night.
Not,
I told you to repeat it.
no, that's not. You can stay there. Kill time.
What? Heading south out of Roanoke, I caught a trucker out. I knew he had a nice long tow, but he's heading west from the Cumberland Gap to Johnson City, Tennessee. Well, I gotta get him a rod bit for the sun. I hear my baby call my name, and then I know that she's the only one. If I die right, at least I will die free. Rock me, mama, like a wagon wheel. Rock me, mama, any way you feel. Hey, mama, rock me. Rock me, mama, like the wind and the rain. Rock me, mama, like a southbound train. Hey, mama, rock me. Hey, mama, rock me.
Wow. I really need to memorize my verse.
I was laughing.
Dude, I was panicking.
I was laughing because you're like, rock me, mama, like a wagon.
Yeah, and I never got there. As you can tell, literally, I was like stripping up the smoke down in New England. I was there, everybody had it, and we all joined the band. And then we ran to Raleigh, and then we did in Johnson. I didn't know it.
The funny thing was, Rob and I had the complete opposite opposite thoughts when we saw you on your phone, because I just assumed you were looking up the lyrics.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, okay, he's covered, he's got it. And then Rob looked over at me and he goes, he's on his phone.
Yeah. You were like, because he set it down and it was Google. I'm like, what the fuck is he Googling?
Hold on a second, sweetie. Rock me, mama, like a wagon wheel.
Exactly.
On my phone. It was doing business.
I think you're looking at news or something.
I was trying to save.
Rock me, mama, like a wagon wheel. I think it's in the drawer by the kitchen.
Rock me, mama, I'll buy eggs on the way home. When I get there, tell the kids good night.
And for me, all he needs is that first line, and then I'm good.
Same, and however, that first line never,
Yeah.
the more you reach for it, the further away it gets.
I know.
And it's
so weird.
awful because we've literally played it
This song 10,000 times. Yep.
Old Crow Medicine Show has played the song as much as we've played it.
That's true.
And we don't know the words.
I think someone has a question.
Maybe they're lost. You know you're standing in a microphone. Okay.
Where am I? Good morning.
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 So I've got a question or maybe a statement. So, Rob, how could you?
Oh yeah.
That's right.
The question.
I keep forgetting.
For those, just real quickly before you dive into how you could, has everybody caught up to season 14? Good. I know because most of you are illegal downloaders and you've seen your shows. If you haven't seen it, sorry, but so now those of you who have seen it, you understand what she's asking. Now I turn the floor to Rob for his answer for how could you?
Thank you, Rich. That really cleared it up.
He's actually not caught up, that's the thing.
I'm not. So don't give anything away. La la la.
How could I? It was really easy. I just kind of waved my hand. And,
Ooh, so callous. Ooh, so cold.
I know. I was as shocked as you. But I think it sets up for a brilliant final season, and so, as much as it's tough to see God in that light, I think that it's going to be super fun to play, and I think we're all going to be happy with how season 15 turns out. So I think it sets it up for a brilliant finale for this show. So that's how I could.
I just want to go back to Rich's explanation of the question. Well, because just so everybody knows, that question there was a question. There was a question to him.
Okay.
And there was both. So,
Yeah.
Rob,
For starters,
Also, he was like, before you answer, I got something to say.
also, real quickly,
A question was asked.
Screw you.
It's going to get answered.
I wanted the people to understand that it was about Supernatural and Rob being an a-hole in the show. I didn't want them to not know what.
You're not allowed to call me an a-hole in the show until you watch the season finale,
I just
sir.
go with the people.
Okay? No, you can't just call me names because that's what people happen to be doing. Oh, we're throwing stones at Rob? Great, I'm up. Hold on, before you go, Robbie, I got this. So questions asked. I don't know if you've seen the finale, but we're on Supernatural
I haven't.
TV show. Rob, go ahead.
You're not wrong. Okay, I'm not going to say it wrong. All right, you over there.
Hi. I was wondering how your travels were to here and if the strike was going to affect how you got home.
Say what again?
The airport strike happening like on the 21st.
I feel like that happens every other year when we're here.
Yeah.
Because I'm going to get hit with it, but I'm waiting for the airlines. So.
Yeah.
Well, we didn't.
Sleep over in Rome, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't.
Yeah.
I'm not aware of the. I'm not aware of the strike.
From here, we're going to Australia, so it'll be interesting. We'll see.
We're all very nervous
this
now.
morning.
Thank you for the question. But the way here was lovely. Had a lovely trip out.
What's the strike about? The airline workers are striking in Rome? That's
Yep.
Something like that.
what?
Something like that.
Something like that. All right. Well,
Yeah, which would
On
be
the
the
21st.
day.
On the 21st.
When is
Something
what's
like
the 21st?
The day we fly out.
Tuesday.
Tuesday. Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's perfect. It's really perfect if you think about it. And by the way, everybody here is going there. If we don't make it there, Australia will be Ruth by herself. It'll be Ruth gone. All right, you.
Hello.
Hello.
You do all perform more than once on stage. what happens when something doesn't go according to the plan? Like,
I don't know what you're talking about.
all of you, it can happen to anyone. What does it go through your mind? Like, just keep going, or playing cool, just faking like nothing has happened? What does it go through your mind?
Well, when it's music, it's really hard, and you're in a band, it's really hard not to go, what the hell are you doing back there, you know? We have to
Why
like...
don't you just look at Norton?
Yeah, exactly. Or Hobbit. It's one of the two. It's either Mike or
You definitely
Norton.
look to your left. I mean, that
It's usually Mike. Mike, what are you doing? He's always like, I don't know. We have to like really remind ourselves not to call attention to it when the band messes up. Yeah, when we mess up as performers, that's my favorite thing to do because then we kind of have to improvise back into place.
you do like live theater stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but music, I don't know, it's funny. Well, he and I are so loose on stage anyway, we just laugh.
Honestly, if I mess up, usually my first thought is, wow, I made it through 4 songs without doing this. That's shocking.
I'll say, as somebody who loves live music, as a viewer, I always think it's cool when musicians mess up and kind of make it and own it. Because it's part of the humanity of what you're watching this person do something that I can't do. It's really cool to watch people in bands do their thing, and then to see them kind of the goof part of it is, I always think, charming. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, because it's watching it happen in real time.
Let's be honest, that's why we do it. That's why we mess up.
Oh, yeah,
You know what I mean?
The fake mess up?
Yeah. I mean, we can do it perfect every time, but that's boring.
But that's not charming.
You have it recorded perfectly if you want the perfect version.
Yeah. I mean, for me, when I play by myself, I just always call attention right to it, you know? And I think that's what's fun about the shows that I play by myself is it's just like, it's very casual. And I'll just stop the song and be like, that's not how that goes.
You're all great anyway, don't worry.
Oh,
Thank you.
Well, thank you.
Thank you. Hi.
Hi.
Is there a new Station Breaks project on the works?
Station break.
Yeah, there is.
There's the...
Are you sure? You seem both on the fence about it.
Well, we're both very blessed to be busy. So there's a lot of stuff going on, and we're both working on a lot of different things. And Station Breaks, from its inception, was always a station break. It was a break from the other stuff that we had going, and all that other stuff's really busy right now. So we've written some stuff. Talking about it.
I've got a bunch of new songs that I haven't showed to Jason yet that I will be as soon as we get a minute.
Very excited about.
Yeah.
Does the songwriting process vary for Station Breaks? I know you have your own thing and you have your own thing, but do you guys collaborate mostly on the Station Breaks stuff?
Yeah.
It's a good mix of some stuff I bring, some stuff Billy brings, a lot of stuff Rob brings, and then the three of us kind of get together and rework it and make it, you know, our own, and figure out how to do it. And then my personal favorite, sometimes the three of us get in a room together and put our heads together and write until we do it, but that's rare because of time constraints.
We have a new song that we're going to play this weekend that's new since that last album, so that's exciting.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Hi, hello?
About Richard directing Supernatural and Lucifer. So what are the differences or the similarities, and what show is more fun?
Okay.
That's a fair question.
Okay, the directing Supernatural versus directing Lucifer. The differences are, Supernatural is the show that I've been involved with since season 2, so I have a personal connection with a lot of the crew. Obviously, I'm friends with the majority of the cast, like close personal friends, and so going to that show to direct was going to a place where they were hoping I would succeed, and they were very supportive and encouraging, and basically giving me my shot at directing. And you know, I've now directed 7 episodes of Supernatural and feel very at home with that group of people, with Jared and Jensen, Misha, with you know, Brad, Creaser, and Sayers and the crew, and it's a second home, really, artistically. So going to Lucifer is the exact opposite, because other than knowing Tom from conventions, I didn't know anybody involved in that show. Well, I knew Ildy, the showrunner, but she wasn't covering my episode. Joe was, the other showrunner. So I was going there in there cold, not knowing the crew, either pre-production or production crew, and that is intimidating when you're going to that kind of show that's cruising on at a pace and has a rhythm to it, and your job is to get in there and tell their story without messing up the rhythm and figuring out what the rhythm is really quickly. And so I found that nerve-wracking in a great way. I was very, very excited about it. I love the show Lucifer. I enjoy the stories they tell and the tone of the show. It's not that far off of what Supernatural does in certain ways. So it was a great place for me to go direct outside of Supernatural. But the difference is I was not going to a bunch of people who knew me and who were there to support me. They were just there to do their job and me to do my job. And so it had a level of pressure.
It's outside Supernatural, but it's still Lucifer-centric.
It's still Lucifer-centric. The things that are similar, I make this easy. They both are headed up by outstanding team leaders. Jared and Jensen have always been consistently phenomenal leaders of their show, which is why the show's been on the air for 15 years and why the show has a crew retention rate of about 60%, which is unheard of, because they're good dudes and they're nice to each other. They care about the characters and they care about the crew and they care about the story. All that matters and all that comes across when you work with them and when you watch the show. And I feel the same about Tom and Lauren. I know you guys have gotten to meet Tom. I don't know if you've met Lauren yet at a different convention, but they're phenomenal. There's a cast that is phenomenal, but those two is at the top of the call sheet do a great job of setting the tone for that show. Incredibly welcoming to guest stars, incredibly welcoming to guest directors, and they make it a really fun, creative space to do your best work. So that's the similarity.
Tom said you did a great job, and your episode was his favorite, so
That's
it was good.
mighty nice of him to say. Yeah, I was very, very happy to hear that he was happy, because I would love to go back and do that show again, so fingers crossed. Thank you so much. Hello.
Jason, I was at the concert line. It was lovely. Rob, it's lovely to see you. My question is for Rich, and it's actually a bit of a I'm sorry. I said hi.
Jason replaced me.
Yeah, no, you did say hi.
You were very kind.
I tried.
Thank
No,
you.
did well.
So it's a bit of a follow-up regarding, so we just got news today that Lucifer got renewed for season 5.
Does Tom know that? I feel what?
Yeah.
So I was actually wondering.
Really? We were just having this conversation in the green room. Tom's like, we should know soon. Shit, he meant soon. I didn't know he meant before lunch. Okay.
Here it is. So I was wondering if you would like to work again on Lucifer as a director, if you had any idea of or anything that you would like to try.
No, I don't want to work with Tom again, but thank you. No, I loved that experience and would love to work on that show again. In terms of things I want to try, you don't really think of that in terms of experimenting until you know your story. You kind of have to have your script and see your script, because regardless of how creative you want to be as a storyteller, as a director, your job is to tell the story that you've been handed and tell it in the framework that matches the show's tone and style. So you have to find your ways to be creative and be interesting cinematically within the framework of the show that you've been handed. So it would really be script specific. I got really lucky in the first episode I directed for them that I had opportunities galore to do cool stuff. I was on the roof of a building, I was in the LA River, I had a fantastic fight scene that was visually effect heavy, but also a great practical fight in this abandoned mall between angels. It was like, I got gifted an amazing episode to do for Lucifer. And so it enabled me to do a lot of fun, creative things. And I have no doubt that were I to be lucky enough to do another episode of Lucifer, I would leap at the chance to find other fun, creative things to do. Because it's that kind of crew and it's that kind of cast. They like that kind of thing and encourage it. So, fingers crossed I'll get the opportunity, and then we'll see what kind of stories I get.
I really hope you do. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Bye, Jason.
Bye, thank you for Rich's question.
You, young lady.
Hi. So I guess this is my first con ever.
You guess it is?
Yeah.
You had a
Hey,
a blurry-
it's you! Welcome.
Yeah, that was me. My friends really nervous last night.
Wait, hold on.
I asked if it was people's first JIBLand, and a few people clapped and stuff, and I said, is there anyone out there who's their first convention period ever at all? And there was only one.
It was you. All right.
And her friends made a really big deal out of it, and it was pitch black out there, but I could hear her blushing.
So my question is, if you guys weren't actors or singers, or I guess in an alternate universe, what would you be doing job-wise?
I think I probably would have ended up, if I hadn't done something creative, I would have ended up being a lawyer. Probably. My father was an attorney. I think I probably would have followed in his footsteps.
I could see you in politics too.
Yeah. I would have done. I think, you know what? I honestly think I would have been a lawyer, and then tracked that into
like local politics.
Yeah, do like going mayoral or something like that.
My fallback career was going to be advertising, because I thought that was something that still had creative.
Modern Mad Men guy.
Modern Mad Men guy. Yeah.
That'd be cool. Mad Men made advertising look really cool.
Yeah.
I feel like I would have, and possibly still would like to, like I could see myself being old and smoking a pipe and doing this. I would like to be a professor, like an English professor or something.
Yeah, that would be cool. University setting, right? Like, yeah. That'd be cool.
Yeah, same. I just want the pipe.
And the tweed, maybe some elbow patches.
Elbow patches.
Jason, what's the nearest college to you?
Probably my alma mater.
William and Mary? And then, what city is William and Mary in? That's
Williamsburg. Well, there's like Mary Washington is in Fredericksburg. But, yeah, there's a bunch of schools in D.C.
How far away is UVA?
2 hours, 3 hours.
That's cool.
Yeah, not far.
Virginia has so many great colleges.
Yeah.
It's just great.
Yeah.
You could really be a professor there.
I think we have an announcement.
We do.
Hey, everybody.
JIBLand4 pick contest winner announcement. I don't know what
We don't know who the winner is, but we know that that's a thing.
That's a thing that I announced and read off of. Is it up here?
The winner is... Hey!
Sam and Jess.
The winner is Tom.
Autograph session is now open for Angel passes /
la sessione di autografi con Tom aperta per gli Angel Pass. Yeah! Congratulations.
Long name.
Long name. We'll just call you Tom aperta.
Do we know what the winner of the contest? Oh,
Sam.
It's Sam and
It's Jib Week Sisters Segui.
congratulations.
Congratulations, Aeroporti di Roma. Congratulazioni. No personalazioni. I was reading, they have the sign in
Come up or
there.
anything?
I don't know.
They had a sign in the autograph room, or one of the rooms that says no personalizing. I think I took a picture of it. Because sometimes the Italian words look like they're making them up. Like collaborazione, which sounds like collaboration. And there was one that was, it was Graham. Makes perfect sense.
That sounds like Graham McTavish right there.
Why, Graham's here.
Graham McTavish.
Graham McTavish. Graham the man McTavish. Oh, we're putting the guitar away. Graham, how are you?
I'm very well. Yes.
We all had dinner with Graham last night, and it was great. And there's no negative story. It was Tom and Rob and myself and Graham, and it was funny how Graham flip-flopped between very amused and completely mortified. But
It's true.
he literally was like, he'd be laughing, he'd be like, ha 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 ha, could you please not repeat that? There are other people eating in this restaurant who would like to not hear that again. For one me.
Well, I always think of it's like you always think of those people on a date, they're with their girlfriend, maybe it's their first day out, night out together, and they've got us at the next table. Just, you're like, oh no.
That's not fair to anybody.
Yeah, I was, yeah.
So when you really were policing, okay, and quiet down now. The waitress is here, let's quiet.
Yeah, I would literally have to warn them. I'd say stop now.
No, he would. There's a waitress 15 feet away approaching. So wind down the filth, if you don't mind.
I would just say the word careful. Careful.
Careful. But when Graham says careful, you think he might be about to stab you in the sternum. So you don't know if that's really a threat or a...
It's possible.
Yeah, exactly. Well, you're there at the microphone. Let's get the question.
Hi.
Hello.
Good morning. What's your all-time favorite song?
Ooh, gentlemen,
I'm
all-time
sure
favorites.
it was asked before, but...
No, I mean...
Oh, God.
Oof. You know, here's the thing. I say that this kind of question is, and Graham, if you're like Rob and myself, you love music, your favorite shifts, right? Like, at one point you're way into this song, or you're way into this band, and then next month you're into something else. So, but for you, Robbie, I know you've listened to music so intently for so many years as a musician. Is there one song that you heard that you thought, this changed it? Like, oh my gosh, this was an inspirational moment.
I go to the Beatles, like A Day in the Life, or like side 2 of Abbey Road. All the songs that kind of start polyphony, all the songs that go together, all the way to the end of that album, I think are genius.
Yeah.
That also just buys me a lot of time with my favorite song. If I only get one song,
It's all linked together.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, so many songs, it's hard to say, but...
I actually discovered an amazing Scottish singer recently, Catherine Joseph, her name is, and she recorded a song, and I think it's actually, I may be mistaken, but it might be in the soundtrack to Outlaw King, which came out recently on Netflix about Robert the Bruce, and it's a song about Scotland, and it's called The Land of the Leal, which means literally the land of the loyal, and it is just a beautiful, heartbreaking song about nationhood, about love, about death and what goes. But it's quite sad. It's quite sad, but I like a sad song.
It's Scottish.
It's very Scottish, and it's honestly, check it out. Catherine Joseph, Land of the Leal.
Are you a singer, Graham?
I am not.
Not at all? Not even like...
No, well, I mean, I can sing when other people are singing, so I'm like there in the background. Like I sang on The Hobbit, we did the Misty Mountains on The Hobbit, but we were all singing it. But if I'd had to sing that solo, no, nobody would have gone on that journey in The Hobbit. They would have all gone home.
The unexpectedly
So I'll go
short.
with him. I wouldn't, I can hold a tune, but you wouldn't pay to see me in concert.
Right.
Yes.
Rich, favorite song ever?
That's a tough one. I remember being very, 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 like, I think when I was 15 years old, the thing that turned me on my ear was discovering Jimi Hendrix. Big Jimi Hendrix fan. Oh, yeah. Like, I bought the LP, Are You Experienced? And just that whole record I remember listening to. That's not one song, but there's so much music because I listen to music nonstop. I always have, always will. And so it's hard to put my finger on one tune that I'm listening to. But like Graham said, the one song I'm listening to constantly, like this morning, we'll listen to it when I go home, is that Sufjan Stevens record, Wallowa Lake, which I just love that whole record.
That's very sad, too.
It's horrific. That's why in Graham's
It surprises me that that's something that appeals to you, because I picture you liking more happy songs.
Oh, no, man, I listen to sad songs all the time. It's weird. It's weird. If I'm lonely, I listen to lonely music. I don't listen to things that lift me up. I listen to things that match my mood.
Let's make it more lonely.
Yeah. I know, but for some reason it brings me peace to sort of relate to music. So for me, the artist is Sufjan Stevens.
Yeah.
And Rob, actually, I had a Christmas album from him, but you gave me my first Sufjan Stevens, Illinois.
Yeah.
That album.
Come on,
yes, that's a good album.
It's a great album. But this one is, what the heck is the name of this record?
I can never remember.
Me neither. But the song is called Wallowa Lake, and that's I'm gonna look up the name of the album, it's right here. But that's my current go-to. What's yours? Do you have a song or a band you go to all the time?
Yeah, I like listening to sad songs too. I would say Celine Dion, but everyone's gonna start laughing, so...
No, say it.
Celine Dion.
Good for you.
Hey, let me tell you something. Not a damn thing wrong with Celine Dion. The Greatest Gift is the name of the record.
Okay.
That was the name of the album. I love Celine Dion. Celine Dion's Ave Maria, knock your socks off. It's on my heavy-duty Christmas rotation. I love Ave Maria.
You should see the season finale because they have a lot of Celine Dion references, so I appreciate
Do you sing Ave Maria by any chance?
it. No, sir.
Would rather be shocked than be here. Graham's thinking I don't get paid enough. I'm going to stab myself with the microphone. That would, by the way, that look was Graham's entire dinner. It's dinner with Graham. Oh, for crying out loud. Thank you for your question. Appreciate it very much. Ladies and gentlemen, we gotta go.
Yeah.
We've been pulled off stage. We're giving you more time with the class act, Mr. Graham McTavish, everybody. Let's go.
See you soon.
I'm Rich. We'll see you in a little bit, everybody.
Right. Well. So, if you feel the urge to run to the bathroom, please feel free. Otherwise, please ask me any questions you like. I love being asked questions, so and I'm open to anything. So you are the first person. You're standing by the microphone. Please ask away. Yes.
I was going to ask you about the new season of Preacher. Is there anything you can tell about it and the Saints' role in it?
Well, yeah, it's the story of Preacher in the last 4 seasons has got exponentially more crazy, I think, really, and that's true to the books as well. If anybody's read the books, and this season is really mad. I mean, seriously.
Nice.
But it's the final season, so it has to all be concluded, and we're in the moment. At the moment, we're just about to start filming episode 9 of 10. So we're coming into the last 2 episodes, and well, I won't spoil it for people who haven't read the book, but the ending for the saint in the story is truly spectacular. I honestly think it's one of the best endings of a story I've ever read. So I'm really looking forward to it. But it's been great, yeah. I get to hang out. Well, I've just met God. So, yeah, he's exactly as you imagine, you know. He's got the beard, you know, and nice white, a lot of white. Nice hair, you know, big bouffant kind of hair. So I met him the other day, and he's a very nice man. So you can be reassured about that. God's a good guy. And other than that, who else am I interacting with? Well, I do kill a few people.
Well, that's expected.
That's what I do. Yeah, kill a few Australians. Just shoot them dead on beaches. It's a great show. It's such fun to do. It's so anarchic. And so many the things that happen to Hair Star in this season are truly extraordinary. Physically, the things that physically happen to him. But I won't spoil it to you. I can't give away too much, but you're in for a treat. Yes. You really are.
Yeah, because it's probably my favorite show after Supernatural. So.
Yeah, oh good, I'm glad. Yeah, I love it. I love doing it. So thank you.
Thank you.
Hello.
Hi Graham. I have sort of like 2 questions for you.
Yep.
You die quite a lot.
Yeah, I do, yes. Me and Sean Bean. Me and Sean constantly dying. I'm trying to outdo him in deaths. Sean's been pulled apart by horses, so that's a really tough one to follow.
I'm not sure, as Leo DiCaprio, he dies.
He does too, yeah. He dies a lot, yeah. Yeah.
So my question is, do you have a favorite death? And like a good death? And also, if you have young children in your family, do you ever use your acting skills to fool them?
Fool them? Oh yeah, oh, well. Okay, favorite death. Favorite death, I used to, when I was a kid, and you may have done this as well when you were kids, I used to have this game that I would play with my friends was Best Death. And you would have to try and outdo each other, see who could die in the most spectacular fashion. Now, unfortunately, there was a guy in my street who was a really good gymnast. So he always won, because he would always do stepping on a landmine. And then he would just fly in the air and do all these spectacular flips. And he won every time, and I've always remembered that. And I, of course, have been killed, not killed, injured by a landmine in Rambo. I stood on a landmine, and I thought of him, David Ford, his name was. I thought of him when I did that, standing on a landmine, being blown in the air. And my stunt double who did that scene, when we did it in Rambo, I don't know if you've seen it, but I come across a hill, step on the landmine, go flying in the air, land on the ground. This shreds my leg, and it's just really gory. The stunt guy, they were going to put him on a wire and yank him in the air, which is a very common thing to do in a stunt. Wire gags, you just get flown in the air, and then they drop you. Stallone watched him rehearse it. He said, no, it's not working. So, could you just do it? Could you just throw yourself in the air and land on the ground? And the guy's like, yeah, sure, Sly. Yeah, no problem. And that's exactly what he did. He got to the point, he jumped in the air on the cue, turned over in the air and landed on his back on hard ground. Oh yeah, oh yeah. And I went over to him and I went, Brian, that was amazing. And he just stood up and he went, yeah, that's great. Thanks, Graham. And thank God he never asked him to do it again. But my favorite death, I think I mentioned this yesterday actually, being stabbed with a fire poker and having my throat slit by Kiefer Sutherland in 24. That was a good one. I don't think I've been drowned, stabbed, shot. I think, yeah, I've been blown up. I've been stabbed while doing a scene in real life. I've been stabbed in the hand, doing a fight scene, stabbed with a spear in my ribs, punched in the face twice, kneed in the balls. Yeah, those were real things. They weren't fake at all. Yeah, I did Romeo and Juliet, and the guy playing Romeo, we have a fight. I played Paris, and we have a fight, and he kneed me in the balls. Yeah, so yeah, that was pretty bad. Very painful. But other than that, no. Your second question about my children. Do I use my acting skills with my kids? Well, I'm always doing silly voices with my kids. Yeah, which I think is funny. But my kids, they're just kind of embarrassed by Dad. So I intentionally embarrass them quite a lot. But I don't, if you mean by acting skills, pretending or fooling them into doing something, no, I don't actually. No, I'm not that kind of dad. Yeah, try and be honest with them. But yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Yes, darling.
Hello. I wanted to ask, because Dougal is one of my favorite characters.
The correct answer, thank you.
I wanted to ask, how did you prepare for that role?
Dougal, well, Dougal Mackenzie, I mean, he's in many ways, you can meet people like Dougal Mackenzie all the time in Scotland. You really can. Same with people like JIBLand in The Hobbit. You just need to go to a pub and you'll meet them. And seriously, that's a lot of Scots people are like that. Just very straight down the line, especially like JIBLand, who's just like black and white. But Dougal, I mean, there's little bits of him that I based on my father. Obviously not the manipulative, sexual predatory thing. That wasn't my dad. But yeah, I used to think of him a lot. I used to think of him when I was doing JIBLand as well. I'm very sad that he never got to see those. He may have recognized certain things about him in those portrayals. But other than that, really, I've always been fascinated by Scottish history, long before I did Outlander. So I knew a lot about it. I knew where Dougal was coming from in terms of his political affiliation, his belief in the Jacobite rebellion, and the passion that went with that. And I find that kind of passion for something that you believe in very interesting to explore from an acting point of view. So that was a real gift. And all the other things about Dougal, he's very complex. I mean, he literally saves the life of a nephew, and at the same time is planning to murder him. I mean, he wants to kill him. He wants him out of the way. So he's a very complicated man. Similarly with his relationship with Claire in that. He admires her hugely, he admires strong women, yet at the same time finds her incredibly infuriating. So, yeah, I think, you know, people like Dougal, in many ways, complicated people reflect what most humans are like. I mean, no disrespect to Jamie Fraser in Outlander, but he's just kind of perfect. You know, he is perfect. I mean, I think the only things that Jamie Fraser can't do are blink. No, what is it, like, wink? Wink, no, he can blink. Yeah, of course he can blink. No, you can't blink. Weird. He can't wink. And he can't sing? Yeah, right. You know, what? Those are the only two things that you aren't really brilliant at. So he's really good at everything else, and he's a wonderful person. And actually, weirdly enough, Sam's very like that too. Although I think Sam can wink. So he's got one up on him. But I find those characters, the more complex characters, more reflective of human experience, more than the perfect ones.
That is what makes him such a great character and one of my favorites.
Ah, great, okay, good. Well, thank you. Thank you. Yes?
Hi. So I'm a huge fan of the Uncharted game series that you're in.
Yes.
So I was wondering if you have some favorite quote or line from your character, Zoran.
Yeah. Oh, Zoran Lazarevic.
Yeah.
Well, I remember doing, when I did that first Uncharted game with Nolan North, who has become a great friend on the back of that experience, really. I did Uncharted 2 as Zoran Lazarevic, and then I did Uncharted 3 as Charlie Cutter. And Zoran, well, my favorite line of Zoran's, well, there's two really. And I've used it with my kids, the second line. But the first line was when I meet him for the first time, and I am struck by how small he is.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I say, what is it? This little man is Nathan Drake. And Nolan had a real job not laughing in that scene. In fact, we both had a bit of a difficulty not laughing the whole time we were doing it. And with Charlie Cutter, they were very good. They allowed me to do a lot of improvisation as Charlie. So his fear of closed-in spaces, his claustrophobia was all my sort of invention. And one of my regrets was that we started doing Uncharted 4 together. Charlie and all the characters, and then they decided to change direction in terms of how they wanted the game to go. So nobody's ever seen any of that material that we shot. We shot it for months, and it was great fun. It was one of the most enjoyable jobs I've ever done, actually, Uncharted. It was a lovely, lovely experience, and Nolan is one of the funniest people you will ever meet. Yes. Yeah. If you're listening, Nolan. Very funny.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Of course.
Hello.
Hello.
I would like to know if you could tell us the most funny story from the Hobbit set.
God, it's always so hard. Funny story from the Hobbit set. Well, I mean, I guess, the barrel stuff. I mean, when we did the barrels, what you have to remember is that we actually were in a real river for a lot of it.
I know.
So we stood on this promontory. We were brought to set on a location at the Pelorus River in New Zealand, the South Island. And Peter Jackson invited the stuntman to demonstrate what was going to be done in the scene. And this man appeared around a corner in the barrel wearing a crash helmet and a wetsuit. And we're looking at him, and he's doing this thing. He's paddling with his arms, and he gets to this beach, and he flips out backwards, and he walks up, and we're all politely applauding, waiting for our stunt doubles to appear to do that particular sequence. And Peter just turns to us and says, right, shall we shoot it? And we were literally then led, like lambs to the slaughter, down to this little area where all these barrels were waiting for us, and we climbed into them. There was a safety rope that was just taken away, and we just had to float out into the river. And Peter was just calling to us, okay, so you're just gonna paddle as fast as you can, and it was a white water flowing river. paddle as fast as you can, and we'll just film it, see what happens. And so we're literally, you know, when you watch us in those barrels, we are paddling for our lives. We're trying to save ourselves from being swept downstream. Two of the dwarves breached the second safety rope and had to be rescued by boat because they were heading towards the ocean. Richard Armitage came out, nearly drowned. He had to be rescued by the stunt team. Stephen Hunter got stuck in his barrel, even though Stephen Hunter was specifically told to exit the barrel backwards. So it's like a scuba thing, you know, you go back off the boat. So you go back out of the barrel. Stephen decided, for reasons best known to himself, to go face first into the water, basically to try and drown himself. And we had to run in and like pull him out and all that sort of thing. So, you know, we did a lot of that with the barrels. Then we were, the fish, that was a really, really nasty experience. Peter used to pick people to do certain things. And I don't know why he picked us. Me and Richard, William Kircher, Adam Brown and Mark Hadler. But he took us in, again, into a room where, now listen, we're talking about fish pouring on people's heads, okay? He used real fish. So it was 200 kilos of fish poured on our heads. And again, a stuntman demonstrated it, and it went up to his chest. They poured the fish in, and it went up to his chest. We're like, oh, okay, right. We go in, we do that. Peter Jackson decides that there's just not enough fish. Now we need more fish. So they got this enormous trough, and they put it above our heads, and filled it with fish. So we're in the barrel, and Adam Brown, who played Ori in The Hobbit, was the first, who revealed to us on the day that he was phobic of fish. I didn't even know that that existed. That you're afraid of fish. And he is. And he was the first one to be in a barrel, and he's sitting there, and Andy Serkis, who was doing the second unit directing at that point, Peter was watching in another room, because Peter Jackson is also phobic of fish. Yes! He's in another room watching us. And Andy's calling out to Adam. Adam's in the barrel. He's going, okay, Adam, you can see Bard. Bard's talking to someone, it looks very suspicious. You're getting worried and upset. And fish! And all these fish does it. And he disappeared. In like 2 seconds, he was gone. Now, nobody knew, because nobody had tried it, that essentially if you have 200 kilos of fish poured on your head, it's like concrete. You cannot move even the tiniest part of your finger. So he managed to make a small air pocket in front of him. And they called out, they said, Adam, can you hear us? And he couldn't even speak. He couldn't speak. We thought he was dead. So then they started to pull the fish out, and he was okay. And we did it, I think each of us did it 5 times. Yeah, it stank. For days, that soundstage stank of fish. Yeah, so next time you watch it, just remember, real fish, not fake.
Thank you.
My pleasure.
Hi. I wanted to ask about your experience on the set of Aquaman.
Oh yeah.
So how was it?
Well,
any funny stories?
Aquaman was a very, very different experience. Because Aquaman was almost entirely shot on green screen, which is a very weird and disorientating thing. Now, my involvement, it was very brief, you know.
Yeah.
I came in there, I was there for, I don't know, a couple of weeks, I think, in total. You know, prep, costume fittings, all the rest of it. And I wish I could say that there were these amazing moments with Jason Momoa and everything. I never interacted with him. No, there was no, so I was alone on a green screen set, conducting whales and dolphins that weren't there, and standing with an enormous trident. All I can say is my costume was only slightly lighter than the costume I wore in The Hobbit. So I think the one in Aquaman was 34 kilos in weight, and the one in The Hobbit was 35. So yeah, it was heavy. But it was, listen, you know, it's a great movie, and I'm really glad I did it. But it was a very unusual experience for me, because I was really entirely alone, having to interact with people that weren't there. Creatures, people. So it was quite odd in lots of ways. But it's done well, I hear. I think a few people have seen it. So yeah, no, I'm very, very happy to have been a part of it. And I think Jason did an incredible job. Really, really an amazing job. He's a very funny, nice guy, and I think that really comes through in the film. But yeah,
Thank you.
okay. Hello.
Hello. So you've done movies and TV shows. Which one is your favorite to work on a personal level and working level, and why?
Which one of the movies and TV I've done?
Movies or TV, yes.
Oh, movies or TV?
Yes.
Oh, gosh. Well, TV, you get to tell a story over a long period of time. So, for instance, if you were trying to tell the story of a preacher in a movie, you might have 3 hours if you were doing a kind of Hobbit-length movie. But 3 hours would be nothing compared with, I think we'll have done 43 hours of TV for Preacher. Same with Outlander. If you were to try to tell the story of Outlander in a film, it would be a very different experience. So they serve different purposes. And the narrative in a film is defined by, you know, that single shot that you have. You have to tell that story in a dark room with people watching. And I think that's a very interesting discipline. But of those that I've done, I guess, well, I would have to say The Hobbit is obviously a huge favourite of mine because it was such a big part of my life. 2.5 years. An extraordinary, life-changing experience. I would put Rambo in there because, again, that was just a unique, you know, we were in the jungles of northern Thailand for months with Rambo. I mean, there he was. And I found that experience, because I grew up watching Sylvester Stallone movies. You know, when I went for the meeting, I was waiting in this huge room, and I looked around, and I was waiting with the casting director, and I was looking around, and I became aware of all these posters around me. And they were all posters of Stallone. There was Rocky, there was Cobra, Cliffhanger, there were all these films. And it suddenly dawned on me that I was in his office. And as that thought passed in my head, I was sitting there, and this figure just appeared left of me, and just went, "Hey, how you doing?" And I looked up, and there he was. And honestly, you know, I've met a lot of people in my life and everything, but I looked up, and all I could think was, it's fucking Rocky. It's fucking Rocky. And I remember I kind of half stood up and basically spoke gibberish. I just kind of went, and he just went, "Hey, good luck, enjoy, see you later." And then I met the casting director, and we did the tape, and it went very well. And by the time I got home, they'd offered me the job, and this was my first meeting in Los Angeles, so it was an extraordinary experience. And then I was suddenly whisked away to northern Thailand. But there was another moment when I was doing the movie with him, and we got on really well. He's a very, very funny, intelligent guy, Sly. A very driven individual. But we were doing a scene, and basically, if you haven't seen it, I spend most of the film just abusing him. You know, I'm calling him every name under the sun. And he's coming off a boat, and I remember, you know, if you excuse my language, he's coming off the boat, and I'm saying, you know, he's the boatman, he stays with the fucking boat. Stay with the fucking boat. And he comes off, and we try different lines, and we're doing it, and we're doing all this improvisation. He loves improv. And there was this moment where I looked, and it was like a ticker tape in my brain, and it was saying, "You're talking to Rambo." It was a real out-of-body experience. It was as if I was watching a film, a Rambo movie, and I'd stepped through the screen and was now in it. It was a very bizarre moment. I've never forgotten it. So that, for many reasons, that was a really enjoyable, extraordinary experience in my life. You know, and I've been very lucky that way. Even with Preacher, I play the Saint of Killers now. I read that book, and the Saint of Killers is based on Clint Eastwood's character in Unforgiven. And I was a huge Clint Eastwood fan when I was growing up, and I would stand in front of the mirror when I was like 12, 13, and try and make my brow get lines so that I could look like Clint. You know, I just wanted to look like him. So I would stand there in front of the mirror, willing my face to become like Clint Eastwood. And then, all those years later, I get to play a role, riding into a western town, and the duster and the coat, and with the guns. It's essentially inspired by Clint Eastwood. And so I always say to people, if you ever do watch Preacher, just remember that you're watching, essentially, remember the 12-year-old boy that I was who dreamt of being that man. And so acting can have that extraordinary effect on your life that you can find yourself sometimes in situations where it's truly a dream come true. So, yeah, I've been lucky that way.
Thank you.
Hello.
Good morning. Yeah. My question is this. In your truly impressive and lengthy career, have you experienced how things and conditions for women actors have changed, and if so, how?
Oh, interesting question. Yeah, I think, I'd like to think that we're going through a period now with a lot of strong female leading roles. I've certainly, in my experience of doing Outlander, you know, Katrina Balfe, who plays Claire, is playing a fantastic female role. And there are more of those. And, you know, when I did a lot of theatre, you know, a lot of plays, especially, well, actually, you know, interestingly, Shakespeare wrote great female roles. Incredible, strong female roles. I mean, the list is endless. Cleopatra, you know, Lady Macbeth, Ophelia, Beatrice, and it just goes on and on. So he was ahead of the curve, so to speak, when he was writing. But it's always been more difficult. There's no denying it. So I have two children, they're both girls, and if they wanted to become actors, I wouldn't stop them, but I would counsel them that it is harder. It is harder, and it is unfair, because for women, when they get to a certain age, a lot of the time, you know, some of our leading actresses of today, who are now in their 30s, by the time they get to be in their 40s, they've been replaced by the next group of young, beautiful girls, and that's something that we have to address. It really is. And I try, you know, I try and encourage that in my life, certainly with my kids, to be strong women. But the industry still has a long way to go. It really does. But it's great when you see female directors, writers, female-centered stories. So there's more of that. But, you know, it's been very small steps so far. I don't think we're there yet, that's for sure.
Thank you.
Of course. Hello. Oh, there you are. Oh no, she was leaving. She was leaving. Anybody else?
Spin the wheel.
Nobody wants to ask any more questions.
That means you have to spin the wheel.
Now I just need to tell you stories, I suppose. Let me tell you a story about a Peter Jackson experience. Well, on the Hobbit, we did lots of mad things, but certainly the maddest of my experience was not while we were filming. Peter invited us, and please forgive me if any of you have heard this before, but Peter invited 5 of us to shoot some guns in this aircraft hangar in the middle of Wellington, in New Zealand. Blanks, machine guns. And we fired, I think, 3,000 rounds each of these guns. And he'd alerted the police, said we were rehearsing a movie. Yeah, I know. So we fire all these guns. It was amazing. You know, we're kids. We're just kids, all of us. So I'm firing these guns. Now, in this hangar, Peter has planes, like full-size planes from the Second World War. Here's everything. And he also has a Panzer tank from the Second World War, a German Panzer tank, restored. And we get in, and we finished firing our guns. And Peter says, shall we go for a little spin around in the old tank? And it's a big hangar, So there's room to go around. So we get in the tank, I'm in the turret, Peter's driving, the rest of the guys are sitting on it, and we start driving around inside the hangar, and then he takes us out into the car park. And now we're driving around in the car park. And this is Wellington, like the center of Wellington. We're in a Panzer tank. We come around the corner, and there are these two guys playing basketball in a sports center next door. And we drive towards them. They've got their backs to us. And the incredible thing about this, if you've ever been around a tank, which, you know, you probably haven't, who knows, but they're really loud. I mean, they're really loud. So this thing is thundering towards them, and they do turn around until the very last moment. And these two guys suddenly look around. And it's probably truly the only time in my life that I have seen somebody's jaw drop open. They literally both dropped the balls and went, and stared at this gigantic tank that was about 10 feet away from them. Not enough for Peter. He decides to go out into the street. So now we're driving around suburban Wellington at about 9 o'clock at night in a Panzer tank. I'm in the turret, I'm there like this, and you can't help it. You become that guy. I became a German tank commander. I'm there, and we're driving along through the suburbs of Wellington. People are coming out into their gardens, people are pulling the curtains back, some of them are in their pajamas, and they're looking in disbelief. and I just couldn't help myself. Now, apologies to any German members of the audience, but I stood there in the tank, and I went, relax, go back to your homes. We will all be leaving soon, you will see your families. I couldn't help it. It was so bad. And then the police were called. The police were called, and they arrived, and it's an awkward thing to explain why you're driving around suburban Wellington in a Panzer tank with a man pretending to be a German officer. So that was, and then to finish it, he drove us to the airport in Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. The real one. With the theme music of Chitty Chitty Bang Bang playing in the car. Only Peter Jackson could do that. So anyway, yes. There we are. You have a question.
Hello. Very good story.
Oh, it's all true.
Well, sounds like an experience. You mentioned Shakespeare just prior, and like how in his work there's a lot of strong female characters.
Yes.
As a non-native English speaker, it's like I'm very much discovering his work still now. I was wondering if you have a favorite play or a favorite character that you've always kind of like. I'm guessing you might be fond of Macbeth. For obvious
Yeah, well,
reasons.
yeah. I've been in Macbeth 3 times. I've played Banquo twice and Macduff. But I've never played Macbeth, and I've always wanted to play it, always. It is probably my favorite Shakespeare. It might not be the greatest Shakespeare. I think you could definitely argue that King Lear, Hamlet are greater plays.
Macbeth is the very first one I ever saw.
Macbeth?
Yeah. So
Yeah.
very
Well,
intense.
Macbeth just tears along at an incredible pace. It's so fast moving. It's like an action movie, Macbeth. And with some incredible speeches in it. So yeah, I would say Macbeth. I did the Comedy of Errors, which, you know, it's just a great, ridiculous story. 2 people that look exactly the same who are mistaken for each other by different people in a town. And it's like a farce, really. But I really enjoyed doing that. I can never go on enough about how extraordinary that man was. When you think, and there are people who go, oh, but you know, he didn't write them. Somebody wrote them. Somebody wrote those plays. Somebody sat down in the 17th and late 16th century and wrote them. These extraordinary examinations into the human condition. And I personally believe that Shakespeare did write them. But whoever it was, what an incredible debt we owe them. The fact that they're performed now, 400 years later. There aren't many things that are being written now that will be seen in 400 years. So, yeah, I haven't done a Shakespeare play for a while. I haven't done theatre for 12 years, so I miss it. I miss it very much.
Yeah, I do think he was a master of it at his craft. I am a volunteer at the Shakespeare Club in London, and there's a lot of discussion of who Shakespeare was, and a lot of people also think he might have been a woman, and Shakespeare might have been the pen name. So I think it's super interesting to think about that.
It's interesting to speculate on. I mean, the evidence surrounding the writing of those plays or those people. It's very difficult. It's very difficult to look back and separate, the truth from what possibly we would like the truth to be. All we know is that there is strong evidence that the man that we know as William Shakespeare was the person who wrote those plays. I think sometimes we like to find not a conspiracy exactly, but a mystery where perhaps the truth is a little more obvious, and they just didn't keep great records in those days. But whoever he was or she, what an extraordinary talent. Yes.
I agree. Thank you so much.
Last question. I've got my little sign. It's in huge letters. You always feel like they're shouting at you. Last question!
Hi. You've been in a few movie and TV shows that were taken from a book.
Yeah.
So how do you feel when the story goes like a different way than what is written on the page, or when it goes like, you prefer when it goes different so people like are surprised, or when it goes like the same as the book so they follow the story?
Yeah, yes, it is weird. I have been in quite a few. Well, certainly The Hobbit, Outlander, Preacher, Lucifer is written as well. But I'm of a view that they are different mediums. So a book tells a story in a different way to a TV show. And a TV show has different responsibilities and obligations in the telling of that story. So personally, I am in favor of latitude in the telling of the story. If you want to go off in slightly different directions, I've never read Game of Thrones, but I understand that Game of Thrones has gone away from a lot of what was written originally. And I'm okay with that. I mean, Outlander is very, very true to the books, I believe. And Preacher has made some definite changes. But as long as I think they stick to the spirit of what was written and understand that, fans are expecting that, then that's fine. I personally feel a great responsibility towards the fans of these things when I do them. As a fan of Preacher, I was very aware that I didn't want to screw this up. Same with Outlander, I was aware of the huge fan following of that. So when you're doing these things, and Hobbit, you do feel that responsibility. But no, on the whole, I would say, yeah, you need the freedom when you're doing a TV show.
Thank you.
My pleasure. Well, that brings us to the end of our little chit-chat. Well, thank you very much for joining me and for your questions. I'll see you soon.